Greetings, everybody. That was April Wine and their cover of 21st Century Schizoid Man. Welcome, everybody. Bit of a chill video here. I just wanted to make this video because I saw a video today. It's a daily live stream from probably one of my favorite political channels on YouTube. It's the Majority Report with Sam Cedar. Uh, Highly recommended for those of you looking for sort of like political news and stuff. They are definitely on the left, but I think they present the news in a way that's interesting, and they talk about politics in an interesting way that it sort of does, I guess, require that you're sort of plugged into politics, because they do talk about stuff that is kind of complex at times. If you're new to politics, maybe you won't get everything that's going on, but I think that they're good for the average person who wants political news that presented in an interesting way. But I guess it could possibly be a turnoff if you're brand new to politics. There might be some stuff they talk about that's pretty inside baseball when it comes to political stuff. But the reason I bring them up is because on today's episode, they at the end of the show they have people calling in on the phone, and also they answer instant messages from viewers. And today, one of the messages that they read on the air was a message from someone saying that I guess their spouse was unemployed and they're receiving unemployment benefits from the government or whatever, and they were apparently overpaid benefits, and they were having to pay him back, and but they can't afford to pay him back because they're obviously, most people who are on unemployment are probably not rich. If you're rich, you don't need to be on unemployment. So, but the reason it was interesting to me is because I was in that same situation where the government said that they accidentally overpaid me unemployment, which was technically true, because one day I looked at my bank account and there was like it wasn't that much money. It was like $1,000 or $1,500 or something like that, and I think at that point in time I was getting I want to say it was like $250 a week or something, because I think unemployment. I can't imagine it's changed since then. I think they pay you 80% of what you were making at your last job, and I to go back and give some context to this, sort of before I even dive into like that whole thing, the reason why I wanted to make a video about it is because I think a lot of people, like especially on the right, are often they often like talk shit about people who get government benefits, like you're leeching off of our tax money, like why don't you just go get a job or whatever. Like they see it from that point of view of where they don't want their taxes to go to someone who's unemployed when they're still working or whatever. But when you look at how hard it is to actually get benefits and just like all the shit you have to go through, and they don't just hand them out to anyone, like you actually have to be someone who needs it in order to get it. I think of a famous example of Old Dirty Bastard from Wu-Tang Clan, I guess, was famous. I don't know if this was like an apocryphal story or if it was really true, but supposedly he continued to collect a welfare check even after like becoming rich from Wu-Tang Clan, which I think is pretty funny. But it also kind of goes to prove my point that I'm trying to make with this, is that the government actually doesn't really care that much, and they they don't put much effort into making sure that poor people get the benefits that they need. Like, obviously, if some rich guy is still able to collect unemployment, that kind of means no one's like actually looking over it and looking over claims and seeing who is currently receiving claims that maybe shouldn't, or looking at the opposite, which would actually be helpful to people, is looking at people that maybe should be receiving unemployment but aren't, or just just the fact that there's no oversight really. Like, I remember when I had gotten a job a few years ago now at this point, where whenever you get a new job and you receive food stamps, like, you're supposed to report your new wages to the government or whatever, so that you, of course, they're going to give you less food stamps if you have a job. Like, actually, most people that have jobs don't even qualify for food stamps. So regardless of how poor you are, they they're not going to give you much unless you have zero income at all. So I remember, like, some people in my family making fun of me because I actually reported that I got a job to the government, because I guess most poor people, like, don't really report that stuff, like, because they just want to continue getting food stamps regardless of, like, how much money they might be making, which makes sense. Like, when you once again go to the fact that there's really not much oversight, like, it sort of incentivizes you to lie and say that you still aren't working so that you get the maximum amount of food stamps or whatever other government benefits we might be talking about. But going back to the unemployment example, like, I think a lot of people who've never been on unemployment, or especially like rich Republicans that are often the ones that are talking the most shit about government benefits, like, they know nothing about the process. Like, the reason I was on it for a while is because I was working at this call center. I worked there for about 2 years, and pretty much they laid everyone off. I think like something like 600 people worked there, and the reason they laid everyone off is because they opened up a new call center in the Philippines, and I think they pay those people like $3 or $4 an hour. So basically, all of us that were making like $10 to $12 an hour at that call center, it was just a big cost saving measure for them, because they could just fire all of us and have the Philippines start taking those calls that we were taking. And it was actually very funny because they they sent a number of agents from my site that I worked at to go train those people in the Philippines. So they basically made us train our own replacements without telling us that they were gonna lay everyone off. Oh, damn near deafened me. I need to turn down these stupid system sounds before I go deaf. But they're already at zero, but it still deafened me anyways. All right, anyways, the they made everyone train their own replacements and laid everyone off, and it's really interesting when you work for like a really big company like that and everyone gets laid off, because they have these I don't know if you've ever seen, I forget what movie it is, where I think it's like a George Clooney movie, but they basically like make these like corporate suit guys come in from, like, I think the ones that came in were actually from the New Mexico workforce division or whatever, the people that manage unemployment for the whole state or whatever. They had those people come in and like do this little seminar of like what to do once you're laid off, like what are your options. And it was actually kind of beneficial that they did that, because I found out that there is this program for what they call displaced workers, which is what we were, where if you're a displaced worker, you can get 100% of your tuition and books paid for if you want to go back to school. So I took advantage of that for like a year, and actually took a bunch of classes at that time, and it was really awesome getting books paid for because books are usually the most expensive thing when you're going to school. Like I was going to community college, and the books were usually like 3 or 4 times what the actual tuition was. But yeah, just like the whole process of being unemployed is pretty shitty. But luckily, since I was in that case of working for a really big company, there were actually like safety measures in place to like help me out. Like that was pretty cool. But once you actually like learn about what you have to do to get unemployment, like it starts to sort of sink in that, like I said, it's not so easy. They don't just hand it over to you. Like there's a lot of shit you have to do, a lot of hoops they make you jump through, a lot of red tape you have to go through. Like that's sort of like the good example of what happened to me when I was unemployed. But a few years later, I was working at a different call center, and I was actually fired. And the reason that I was fired was what they said. I don't know if this is the real reason why I was fired or not. And they might have just not liked me for whatever reason. But maybe it actually had to do with like my sales numbers or something, because like I worked for Lowe's, the Lowe's call center, and like they really like expected you to do all these amazing sales or whatever, and they would actually give prizes to people. Like I know some guy that was on my team won like a TV or something because he had like the highest sales numbers for that month or whatever. But they really don't give you much like if you actually sell a lot. Like I remember like a few calls I had, people like, since it's Lowe's, like home improvement or whatever, people will often buy like they're renovating a house or building a new house, and they just buy every single thing they need from Lowe's. So like I had some like $20,000 calls before, and like those people were gonna buy the stuff anyways, but like I got nothing for that. Like I got nothing extra. Like there was no commissions for making extra sales. Like you just got a base amount of money and that's it. Call centers are the worst, honestly. Like I don't recommend them to anyone unless like it's your absolute last resort. But anyways, I got fired from that job, and the reason they said that I was fired is because I had all these days and weeks where I would have less than 8 hours on the clock, because we were scheduled for 8 hours a day. So I guess they expected you to do like the full 8 hours or whatever. I had to be exact, or else like they got mad about it. So I had all these days that were like 7.97 hours or like 7.93 hours or whatever. Like a few minutes were missing basically from my shift, and they were, I guess, mad about it. Like we're paying you for these 10 minutes, whatever. We want you to technically, like for those days I actually wasn't paid for those 10 minutes that were missing or whatever, but they wanted me to be working for that time, because that's what I was scheduled for. But the reason why some of those days were less than a full 8 hours was mostly because of the clocking in system that they had there, which was whenever you got to work, the way you clocked in was you'd have to sit down at your desk, dial on your phone. Like call centers are kind of weird because the way the phones work is actually sort of kind of high tech, I guess, where like oftentimes when you're making a call, you don't really have to like sit there and punch each number on the phone to make a call. You can just like type it into your computer or whatever. But basically, what you would have to do at Lowe's to clock in is you sit down at your desk, you dial a number, and then the automated system on the phone would like ask you for your employee number or whatever. You'd put that in, and then you'd like say you want to clock out, and it'll or clock in, it'll clock you in or clock you out. So that was the process to clock in and out. So something that was kind of funny is they schedule a lot of people in a call center, like sort of staggered. Like some people come in at this hour and leave at this hour because they want to make sure they have full coverage of the hours that they're open. They want a lot of people available to take calls during those hours. But oftentimes, like it seems like they didn't put enough time or effort into doing that, because there would often be times where a lot of employees were arriving to work at the same time, and if that was the case, there would be a lot of people dialing that number, and if that happened, you'd get a busy signal. So if you and say 10 or 15 other people are arriving to work at 8 a.m. or whatever time, and you're all trying to dial the automated system to clock in, you'd sometimes get a busy signal because so many people would be trying to dial that same number at the same exact time as you. So there would be days where it would take a few minutes to get through to the automated system to clock in. And that would be the case for, I believe they would make us clock out during breaks and lunch. So you want to go on break or go to lunch, you got to dial that number again and wait. And there's probably going to be 10 or 15 other people that are going to lunch at the same exact time you are. So you're going to get a busy signal and have to hang up and call again. So there'd be these days where you'd have less than 8 hours because it took you however many minutes per day to get through to the system that would let you clock in, which is really like a terrible system. Like a lot of call centers that I worked for, it would just be a computer program that you log into and hit clock in, and it's kind of more like, I'd say it's more beneficial for the employer to do it that way because you actually have a digital timestamp that's created whenever someone clocks in. So the computer basically takes a screenshot of whenever you're clocking in, so that if there's a discrepancy, you say you're trying to tell your boss that you clocked in at this time, and say your paycheck is short a certain amount of time, you could point to the timestamp and say, no, see, I was clocked in. Why didn't I get this money that I was supposed to be getting? So, and same thing for them, for the employer, it's beneficial because if an employee is trying to say they were working, but the system shows that the timestamps don't match up, then they could say, oh, nope, you clocked out at this time. We can't pay you for those hours because you were clocked out or whatever. So it's beneficial for both parties to have a system that actually works. But Lowe's, I guess, I don't know if it saved them money to have it through the phones or exactly they just didn't give a shit, but that was a big deal there, and they hassled me for having these days that didn't add up to 8 hours, even though it was their own system's fault for that. And so one day my boss calls me in to his office, and it's not only my boss, but it's his boss there as well, so it's two bosses, basically like my manager and the manager that manages all the managers at that call center. And they basically like bring it up to me like, why do you have all these days that are less than 8 hours? And I proceed to explain to them the exact reason why. What I just said to all of you is because of that shitty clock-in system. And I don't know, I guess like they either didn't believe me or just didn't care and just fired me anyways. And like I said, maybe it was actually for some other reason, like maybe my sales numbers weren't up to the standard that they wanted, or they just didn't like me or whatever, and just made up that excuse to fire me. But basically, like if you're fired, there's a pretty good chance that you're not going to be able to get unemployment, just because like I think New Mexico is like it's considered like an at-will state or something, where you're sort of like not guaranteed employment. Like if you're fired, you're not going to get unemployment benefits. So anyways, so even though I was fired, I still filed for unemployment anyways, just because I know the process and how it works. I had already been unemployed before, and the other time that I was laid off, I already knew all the shit that I had to go through to apply. So I went ahead and applied, and my unemployment was actually denied the first time that I applied because probably because I was fired, and they just automatically deny most applications where the person was fired. But I went ahead and appealed that process and asked for them to look at it again and explain my case and basically explained what I just told all you guys about that shitty automated system they would have us use over the phone to clock in. And I actually had to go to a court hearing. It was pretty strange because it was a phone hearing. It was over the phone. There was a judge that had to preside over it over the phone, and I believe both my boss and his boss were present for that call once again, since they were the ones who fired me. And I had already explained in the paperwork, but I explained again to the judge exactly why they fired me and exactly the shortcomings of that stupid clock-in system that they had, and the judge agreed with me and granted my unemployment, so my appeal was successful on that. And I think it was pretty funny. Like it was like a big win for me because my boss, well, my boss like really like it seemed like it was being handed down from that other guy from his boss of the actual decision to fire me. So I don't blame my boss too much, but the other big boss guy was like a super dick. Like he made himself look foolish on that court hearing because he basically said the judge asked him like, so you being a manager, like you don't have to clock in, right? Like you don't have to go through the same process that you make your employees go through, so you really don't know much about it, do you? And he was like, no, I don't. I don't clock in. I basically get paid what I want. Like I do the amount of work I think I need to do, and I get paid that amount. And like he said the reason why it's that way is because my job's way harder than his job. Like my job's 10 times harder than his, so I shouldn't have to clock in. And he basically like made himself look like an ass. Like his job is way easier than mine was. I actually like being on the phone 8 hours a day is pretty hard. But all he had to do was sit in these meetings and fire people and make those sort of decisions that affect the bottom line of the company and make them the most profit possible. Like, oh, that's real hard. He was struggling to make it. But anyways, I just find that funny. But going back to the whole reason for this video, just that person who sent a message to the Majority Report, basically like the government says that we overpaid you unemployment, so you have to pay it back. So that same thing happened to me, where, like I said, one day I looked at my account and there was like $1,000 or $1,500 in there or something. And there was only supposed to be $250 per week, so there was like 4 payments at once, basically. So basically, the way they solved that problem was, because I guess they noticed it right away, is they said, since we overpaid you, you do have to pay it back, but the way that we're going to make you pay it back is we're just not going to give you unemployment until the amount has been satisfied. So since I was getting $250 a week, that $1,000 or $1,500 added up to like a month or a month and a half of payments. So they were just like, we're not going to issue you any unemployment for a month since you got 4 payments at once, which I was like, whatever, like I don't really care. Luckily, I wasn't starving or anything. I didn't need that money to survive, so it didn't affect me that much. But I can imagine someone like who has a family or that does need that money to survive, like all of a sudden you're told that you were accidentally overpaid by the government and they're making you pay it back. That's pretty shitty. Like, especially that person that sent a message into the majority report said that the money was already spent. They couldn't pay it back, and they were a low income family, and they just didn't have that money anymore. Like, it was gone. They had spent it on bills or whatever else they needed to survive, and then it's just gone. But the government expects you to pay it back, and it also ties into that other thing I was saying about how my family made fun of me for doing the honest thing and telling the government that I got a job about so that I would continue to receive food stamps or whatever. And it's like this honor system or whatever, but if the government makes a mistake, they still expect you to pay it back. But if you lie or whatever, make a mistake in their eyes, then they will go to any links to make sure that you pay that money back. Like, I know probably no one reads the literature that they send out when you apply for like unemployment or food stamps, but it says in pretty large print that if your wages ever change, like, and you don't report it to us, you're gonna have to pay that money back. And it even says we'll garnish your wages to retrieve that money that you weren't supposed to get. Like, especially with food stamps, they'll make you pay that money back. But it's just crazy. And the time that I was unemployed, like, back, I think it was during the Obama administration, like, I think the maximum time that you were allowed to be on unemployment was a year. And the amount of time I spent during that year of on the phone or filling out paperwork to try and get the unemployment is like crazy. Like, another thing, like, about how hard it is to get these government benefits, like, all these offices that give people these benefits are so understaffed, and like I said, there's really no one at the helm. There's no one watching over it. So I probably spent dozens of hours on the phone with these people trying to make sure I could get the benefits that were owed to me from all the time I spent working. And basically, the whole point of unemployment is that you spend all this time paying into the system, like, so they can use some of that tax money that they collected from you to basically help you out when you need it. So, and obviously they're taking that money from people who are working. So I can see the argument of people that don't want their tax money to go to unemployment, but I bet if those people lost their jobs and actually needed that money, they would be singing a different tune. Like, even the people at the majority report, they automatically assumed that story was a scam, because I bet none of the people at the majority report have ever been unemployed, or if they were, they didn't. That unemployment money wouldn't have been a matter of life and death like it is for a lot of these families that are collecting it. And it's funny that they thought it was a scam, because it sounds like it would be a scam, like some of those emails you get saying, like, you owe us this amount of money, and they pretend to be either the government or some other company, like all those car warranty calls that they have that are a scam, that so many people fall for. And it does sound like it, like the government out of the blue sends you this notice saying, oops, we accidentally gave you extra unemployment money, whoopsie. And it's like, sounds kind of like a scam to me. But what's crazy about it is, when it happened to me, that overpayment, I suspected that they were actually underpaying me, because despite that overpayment, like, when you first get, like, on unemployment, they establish the maximum amount of time that you can be on unemployment and the maximum amount of money that you can collect. They do some sort of mathematical problem that basically looks at, since they're giving you 80% of your wages, they do the math and they figure out this is the maximum amount of time and money that we're gonna allowed to give you. But I had a feeling that I was being underpaid, so I actually called them and said, "Hey, can someone look at my file to see if I'm actually being given the amount that I'm supposed to be getting? Because it seems like it's actually your guys are giving me less than what they initially said on the initial paperwork that you sent out." And someone at the unemployment office was supposed to be researching that, but the more I talked to them, the more it became clear that there's really, like I said, no one is really. They don't have enough staff, and the staff they do have isn't doing their jobs. They're not doing the work necessary to actually help people and make sure that they're getting what they deserve. So I know one person I talked to there said, your file has something like 30 or 40 pages worth of paperwork, and if we wanted to go through it all and make sure you're getting the correct amount, it would take a lot of time and resources to basically print out these 40 pages and have someone go through it line by line and make sure that all the payments that I got matched up to what I was supposed to be getting. And it's crazy because they supposedly go through all this work to check the numbers to make sure that you're getting that 80% of your wages and that each week you're getting the correct amount and the number of weeks that you can continue to get that amount. Like, so they go through that when you first start out and make it seem like it's all very black and white, but as time goes on, it seems like they start cutting corners on that, and it just gets lost in the shuffle of all the people that are trying to get unemployment. And what's really funny about that is if they actually cared about unemployment, they could sort of solve some of these issues by actually hiring the amount of people necessary to do that job correctly, and making sure that the people they are hiring actually know what the fuck they're doing and don't just have their heads up their asses. Because it seemed like a lot of the people I spoke to didn't know what they were doing and were incompetent. So, which is pretty much par for the course if you call into any call center. Like, despite me being in that field for years, like, the people I worked with, I'm just gonna be honest, not geniuses. And when it comes to something as important as government benefits that are basically determining like whether someone eats or not and whether they're gonna be able to fucking feed their family, it's pretty important. But like I said, they could solve that by actually hiring a good amount of people, making sure they know what the fuck they're doing, and then you wouldn't have all these people calling in all the time, like me, who were both probably overpaid and underpaid the amount that I was supposed to be getting. So it's like just a nightmare. Like I said, I spent dozens of hours on the phone and filling out stuff online with these people. Like, it's just crazy, and the hoops they make you jump through are insane as well. Like, back when I was collecting unemployment, they would make you do like 2 job searchings per week, and you'd have to provide this proof that you were applying to jobs actively while you were collecting unemployment, and it was just a nightmare. And God forbid you don't know much about computers or you're not very technologically literate, because all the stuff you have to do on the phone and all the forms you have to fill out and the shit they make you do online is pretty complicated. Like, I studied computer science for a while, and I consider myself a pretty big computer nerd. Like, pretty good with technology. Like, I'm the guy that a lot of people I know come to for help when they have issues with technology. So the fact that I had trouble with it, like, says a lot about how shitty the websites and the call centers are that actually deal with these issues. And it seems like I don't know if those people that work for the unemployment office are considered like government employees, but if that's the caliber of people that they're hiring for those jobs, like they really need to consider hiring people that have degrees or that actually know something about, for this position specifically, you need to know something about math and like economics, because if you're going to be determining the amount of money that someone should get for whatever benefit, whether it's unemployment, food stamps, welfare, or whatever, WIC, and there any number of social programs that exist, um, you should have at least a basic understanding of basic math and something to do with, I say economics, but just like, I don't know what field would be necessary for you to be able to understand this shit, like just some sort of basic understanding of that stuff, because the people I spoke to on the phone, either they're probably underpaid and expected to do way too much. Like that's just how it is in call centers, and especially these ones that are run by the state. It seems like they do the bare minimum. Like they have people staffed so that you will eventually reach someone, but having to wait on hold for, sometimes I would be on hold for an hour to 2 hours a day. So I'm probably underestimating the amount of time that I spend on the phone. I say dozens of hours. It might be actually hundreds of hours that I spent on hold with these people just to try and get these benefits that were owed to me. And I know a lot of people like say, "Oh, you're so entitled. Like you think you deserve that." And like, I don't know. It's just crazy that these benefits that are meant to help people that are struggling like are so hard to get, and they're like, a lot of people are like so sore that they're having to, that part of their check goes to that, but what they really should be heard about is the part of their check that's going to military spending. Like that's the massive chunk of where most of your money is going. Like a lot of it does go to social programs. Like I know a lot of it is to Medicare for retirement, but that's probably not going to be around for much longer. So I wouldn't I wouldn't expect that your tax money is going to be going to that for much longer. But I don't know. It's just crazy to me that people would be upset that their tax money is going to that, and it's just crazy how the people that have never struggled and never been on unemployment don't know what it's like. Like that that example I gave of the majority report, where that person sent an instant message and they read it on the air, like their knee jerk reaction was like, that sounds like a scam to me. And the fact that it's the government running that program, and it's not a scam, it's just the government fucking up, basically. The amount of times the government fucks up on stuff is pretty surprising. Like it's just humans running it. It's always going to be flawed, and people expect it to work, but this system's broken. It's obviously been broken for a very long time, and even the things that like people take for granted, like the military, like I know growing up, I always like sort of thought that, dang, these military people must know what they're doing. Like they got the smartest, brightest people working on that to make sure that these bombs aren't dropping on the wrong people, but that's not true. They make mistakes like that all the time. They drop bombs on the wrong house. There's that story of, I forget the kid's name, but he was the son of some terrorist, and they had sent one of those drones, a drone strike to bomb the guy's house, and he wasn't even there. And basically his like, he was his like 12-year-old son was the only one that was there, and they killed that kid by mistake. So it's just like, that stuff happens all the time. The government doesn't know what they're doing. They want us to think that they have it all under control, but they don't. Even basic shit like getting unemployment and food stamps, they don't have under control. You have to fucking scratch and claw to get that unemployment and to get those food stamps. You have to jump through a lot of hoops to get it. And I wish more people understood that and just had a little bit more compassion for their fellow man. Like, I see a lot of people that consider themselves like libertarian or conservative or whatever, and it just makes me like wonder like who hurt you, like why are you so against helping other people? Like the biggest thing with libertarians is this whole like attitude of like pull yourself up by the bootstraps and like no one's gonna help me, so I gotta help myself or whatever. But that's not how humanity works. Like no one does anything without help. Most of the people that are considered rich and successful in our society are people that exploited others below them to get where they are, and probably were born rich as well, so they weren't actually as successful as it seems. So this whole like individualism crap where every man for himself basically is just like it's not how our society should work. Like we're pretty much the most successful country in the world as far as the amount of money that the amount of capital that we generate. So the fact that we continue to struggle on other things like education and programs that actually matter, like these social programs, is sad. It's very saddening that we we spend all this money on the military, and it just doesn't make sense that you could solve homelessness and solve all these other societal issues just by cutting a little bit of that military spending. You wouldn't have to cut all of it. I do support cutting all of it because I don't think they should spend any of our money on that. But I understand that there are people that want money spent on that. Whatever. I don't really give a damn. But cut some of it. You don't have to cut a lot, but cut some of it. Because then you could actually, like I said, hire some people to work at these call centers. It would help the economy because you're hiring all these people, and then it would actually probably save them a lot of money on unemployment because you could have more people dedicated to finding out if there are people that are scamming the system that are collecting that money that don't need it. You could get rid of all that, and you could actually help people that do need it. And like the case of that family that was supposedly overpaid unemployment, you could help people like that where it was a government fuck up. You shouldn't make them pay that money back because you're the ones that fucked up. No one should have to pay that back. They should actually give people more. And yeah, that's my opinion. But yeah, I just wanted to share some of those personal anecdotes of what I've been through, which is I don't think is a unique experience. I think everyone that is on unemployment or any of these other benefits like food stamps or welfare or whatever go through the same shit and the same nightmare process of trying to get these benefits, and it's really hard to get them. It's almost easier to fucking go out in the rain every day and apply to all these jobs, and you could probably if you spent a quarter of the effort that it takes to actually get some of these fucking government benefits, you could probably do something else that's better. Would be a better use of your time. But most of the people that are applying for these don't have that luxury. They need that money. They need those food stamps. So they're going to continue to have to struggle to get those benefits. And yeah, the system's broken, and they need to do something about it. But they're not going to fix that, probably. It's wishful thinking. I just think that at the bare minimum, they're probably not going to solve these problems. But at least, if more people are aware of this stuff and what people have to go through to get these benefits, they might be able to muster up some bit of compassion from their black hearts. Like, I'm not a perfect person, but I'm willing to help out someone who's struggling, and the conservatives and libertarians that think it's every man for themselves and you should only get what you've earned. It's some bullshit. It's some bullshit. And we all need help from time to time. And I don't know. It's hard for me to even see that philosophy, even though I am friends with a lot of people who believe that taxation is theft and all this crap. It's not true, man. There should be more taxes, or at least get rid of that military spending so that the taxes that we do pay actually go to something good. But probably not gonna happen in my lifetime. We need you Zoomers to fix this, because my generation and the generations older than me aren't gonna fix it. That's obvious at this point. But it might all not even matter. Global warming might take us all out before any of this even gets fixed. So, see what happens. That's the positive message that I want to leave you with today. Is it might all just get burned up by global warming. It doesn't even matter. So if you find yourself without a job and you're struggling to get those unemployment benefits and you're struggling to get food stamps, just remember that it's all going to be over soon, because the fucking sun's going to cook us all. We're all going to fucking die. As I drink my Capri Sun. That's where it's at right there. Sponsor me, Capri Sun. But that's pretty much all I had to say. I just wanted to talk about that. This went a lot longer than I thought it was, but it is, I think, worth doing. If even one person sees this and realizes, wow, actually, I challenge everyone that's watching this to, if you're working right now, to look at your pay stubs and see exactly where your taxes are going, and go on the internet and Google what each of those taxes are that your paycheck's going to, and see if you agree with what it's going to. And yeah, just look. There's some interesting pie charts that I've looked at that show where government spending goes, and tax money, like I said, predominantly goes to Medicare and Social Security benefits and the military. Those are the two main ones that it goes to. So, I mean, if you're really hurt about your money going to unemployment and food stamps or whatever, maybe you should look at the numbers and see how much of each of your paychecks actually goes to that, because it's not very much. It's not very much, friends. But yeah, cut that military spending, baby. Fuck that. Fuck that. The cost of one of those aircraft carriers that they make, I think there's like 12 of them that are currently like in working order right now. I think they're like, it's not $1 trillion a piece, but I don't know, the amount of money that it takes to both build those and keep them running for like 1 year, the amount of fuel that they use, it's absurd. You could solve homelessness by decommissioning a couple of those, but yeah, whatever. Or just keep killing brown people in third world countries if that's what you want. That's what the military really is. It's a fucking state sanctioned murder of poor brown people in third world countries. That's what your tax dollars are really going to, folks. That's what I'll leave you with. Is fuck the military. I mean, I support our troops, but I don't support what they're actually doing over there in those third world countries. That's what I'll leave you with. ACAB, though, including the military, they're all bastards. They're all bastards. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, everybody. And as I always say, stay gold. I do have a few new blog posts that I've written recently. If you've never read my blog, it's dukecityhardcorepunk.wordpress.com. I recently wrote a review of American History X, one of my favorite movies. And I am still planning on doing that video about the history of police in America, but I'm still trying to decide what to talk about. Because, like I said in the last video and the last blog I wrote, it's pretty hard to narrow that stuff down because the police have done a lot of bad stuff during their history. It's a pretty short history when you look at just in terms of like modern times. Policing hasn't actually been around for that long, but the couple hundred years that it has been around has been it's been a shit show. Police have done a lot of bad stuff, and it's pretty hard to narrow it down to just one topic of the bad shit that they've done, because there's a lot of it, and a lot of it happened at a time when it wasn't even being recorded most of the time. To actually find out what police were doing, you had to do a lot of research, and nowadays we have cell phones and technology to capture what police are doing, and even then that doesn't tell the full story. But the stuff they were doing pre-technology was pretty bad, and it's still pretty bad today. But that's another video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay gold. This is Null Dog from the list, signing out. Peace.